So their names that they came with, I just tried reinforcing it, and they're really hot too. Did call the vet after that, thinking that would be just fine, but no! Hey animal lovers! So this is an update video on these rabbits. Basically, I'll be talking about the first 3 weeks of having them, what it was like having rabbits for the first time. First, I want to talk about the first day I got them. So Robin, the breeder, was really nice and friendly and great to talk to. Their names that they came with I decided to keep, however Pumpkin Spice, I decided to just call him Pumpkin. When she first brought in Pumpkin, oh my gosh, he was cuter in person than in the photos I've seen him. And it's been years since I held a bunny last, so I was so surprised at how soft he was. Holding him, he did nip me a few times because rabbits don't like being held, but I couldn't stop like petting him over and over again because he was so soft. At some point he enjoyed that to where he started licking me. On his listed picture when he was listed for sale, in his information section it said that he loves to be groomed and he'll groom you back. And that's definitely true, I found, which is just the cutest thing ever. After that, she brought Penelope in for me to see, and I only had one picture of her, which was the front of her, so I was thinking she was mostly white, but I was surprised to see that she was a lot more brown, or whatever color this is. She was very afraid. She had just got there that day. Now her information said that she is not a picky eater, and she definitely is not. She's food crazy. She's like eating hay constantly. I have to refill her hay feeder like every single day. She just eats so much hay, and anything I give her she'll eat. My sister made them this Snug-a-Bun, which was really nice of her, and she did a really good job. It's as if it's store-bought. They have sat in it a few times. My dog actually likes it more than them. So, yep. So they both settled in rather quickly. Pumpkin was a bit more shy at first than Penelope was when it came to getting used to things, but Pumpkin loved my dog pretty much immediately. He was never afraid of him. Penelope is, but she is getting better with that. Cody has never been in contact with rabbits before, so I was a bit nervous as to how he would react. Cody, my dog, and Pumpkin, they would sniff each other through the bars. They both seemed fine with each other. So one day I had Pumpkin out in the room and Cody was there, and they made contact with each other for the first time, and I was filming it, and I'm glad I did because it was so cute what they did. Pumpkin was so happy around Cody, running around him in circles, going underneath him a bunch of times, and Cody was just interested in sniffing him, and then because Pumpkin was so active around him, Cody got in a playful mood, which doesn't happen very often. He is not a playful dog, but he actually started playing with Pumpkin, and when he would kind of lunge at Pumpkin, he did it in a gentle way, which was surprising and relieving. Anyway, Pumpkin really loves my dog. My dog, he never played with him again after that because he realized that this animal is way too clingy and he doesn't like people in his bubble space. He's not a very cuddly dog. But I've been training him to tolerate this guy because this guy still loves to run around him randomly and lick him. He just ran over to him now. And he even thinks that Cody's doghouse is his too. Doesn't even care if Cody's in there sleeping. Anyway, I'm glad they're cool with each other, and Penelope is, like I said, getting better with Cody. She has probably never been in contact with dogs before. Pumpkin, on the other hand, has. He actually, when he was younger, had been around another Pomeranian that the breeder had. I'm almost wondering if Pumpkin thinks that Cody is that Pomeranian. That explains why he's so comfortable around my dog. Just massaging behind his ears or rubbing his bum or just petting him, he'll start licking me. He'll start licking my available hand. If not, then he'll just lick himself or anything that's nearby. He'll just start licking. He really likes being pet. And the breeder mentioned this, that rabbit tongues are just such an interesting, unusual texture. And she's right, they are. They're very different from a dog or a cat's tongue. And they're really hot too. Apparently a rabbit's body temperature is a few degrees higher than a human's body temperature, so when he licks me, it's just really hot. So this pen situation has been working out pretty good. Their boxes they've really been enjoying. They both love to sit on top of the boxes, especially all night long. They just sleep up there. I ended up giving one of Penelope's blankets to Pumpkin because the top of the cardboard's like too slippery. I did wash it. I didn't realize how messy rabbits are. I have to clean their fleece every single day, twice a day actually, morning and night, because a lot of bedding and poo and hay gets kicked out of their litter boxes onto it, and luckily I don't have to vacuum it every single day. These two things work out great for just getting all that bedding and hay and poo off the fleece. This rubber brush I got for grooming, but it works as a great cleaning thing. And it actually works better than the vacuum cleaner. I didn't realize how much rabbits go to the bathroom. Penelope is filling up her litter box a lot, to the point where I can't even spot clean them. I just have to completely clean them out every time. And they're both a decent size. Now, as for the divider, my original divider definitely did not work. It was not tall enough, and I didn't end up connecting it to the pen. So what I did was I tied a string across the top of this pen, draped a blanket over it, thinking that would be just fine, but no! Penelope one day figured out how to jump through that blanket into Pumpkin's side. Luckily I was in the room when that happened and got her over to her side before they made any contact with each other. So after that I tried reinforcing it a bit, but once again she managed to jump over the divider. She did it a few times actually, and every time she got over to his side I happened to be in the room when that happened, luckily, and I would just immediately reinforce it again. One day I did buy some more pens like this but shorter, and I destroyed one of them in order to improve this divider situation to keep her from jumping into his side. These pens came with these stake things that I actually poked through the fleece blankets into the fence to like make the blankets more secure, because I still couldn't find a taller divider option. I ended up using one of the pens I bought as the new divider because the old divider she did manage to get through like the bottom part. But this new divider is definitely much more connected and bunny-proof, finally. Finally she is not escaping. I probably could have made it more simple, but I was in a hurry. Hopefully when I'm done with it I can fix the pen I pretty much destroyed. So Penelope has been a lot more messy than Pumpkin, but she's probably been acting normal compared to him, because Pumpkin has actually had a rough few weeks. The day I got him I noticed he had a wet nose, which could have been that he just drank water or something, but he still had a wet and runny nose the days following. A couple days after I got him I noticed he was blowing his nose a lot, especially when eating, sometimes sneezing, and he just still always had a runny nose, and he didn't really have much energy. He was kind of sitting still a lot when he was in his pen. When he was out in the room he would be super active and acting like a normal rabbit, like nothing was wrong. But yeah, he didn't really do much when he was in here. He would just sit and not eat hay. He rarely ate hay. Didn't have much of an appetite, which was probably because of his cold, which I assume is a cold. It's not as bad as like Snuffles is, because his nose has remained like a clear runniness and his eyes haven't had any discharge, and he hasn't really had any other symptoms that show that it's Snuffles. I was hoping he would just get over this cold with time. I also noticed he wasn't going to the bathroom as much as Penelope, and his poops are a lot smaller than hers, but that could be because he is a dwarf. She is technically, I guess, a dwarf too, because it said that she is a dwarf lionhead mix, but even so her poops are like the size of normal rabbit poop, and she's only a little bit bigger than Pumpkin. He drinks a lot of water, that's for sure. He just hasn't been eating much hay. He would eat the greens I gave him and the treats I would give him. So I got him on the 24th, and like I think on the 28th he wouldn't eat his vegetables, not even cilantro, which apparently is a favorite of his, and he wouldn't actually eat anything I offered him that morning. So I did call the vet. It was a Saturday. My usual vet was closed, so I called another vet that was closing soon. I asked them if they could see a rabbit today, but there wasn't going to be enough time for that. So they just told me to give him critical care since he wasn't eating. Luckily I had critical care. I did have second thoughts about buying it in the past because it's something that can expire, but then I heard you can keep it in the freezer, so luckily I did end up getting some, and I did not think I would ever use it because GI stasis, having to use critical care, is like something all bunny owners hope they never have to deal with. But here I am having to use critical care a lot sooner than I thought I ever would be. And they also told me to give him some gas relief, which I did not have but got later that day. I didn't actually end up giving him any that day because he seemed fine, because he was going to the bathroom and stuff and acting normal. He still wouldn't really eat anything that day, but he totally willingly ate the critical care. He really liked the flavor of it, so I didn't even have to syringe feed it to him. So maybe it wasn't quite GI stasis yet for him, but by evening when I gave him his third dose of critical care, I gave it to him along with veggies, and he did end up eating those veggies, so that was a sign that he was getting better. The next day he would eat, but he was acting kind of uncomfortable, so I did give him gas relief that day, which he also really enjoys the flavor of, so he took that syringe easily. I did add some apple cider vinegar to his water because that can be good for them. Pretty much every morning his runny nose and sneezing and blowing his nose would be pretty bad, but by evening he was like totally fine. Nose was hardly running, and he seemed fine again for a few days. He would eat his vegetables, was acting as he did the first few days, I suppose, but he still wasn't wanting to eat cilantro. He would eat his other vegetables, but not cilantro. But then on the 30th, he wouldn't eat again. He'd like nibble on a little bit of hay, but that was it. He wouldn't eat his vegetables. Still not interested in cilantro, but I did give him a little bit of critical care that day, as well as some gas relief, and he seemed to do better after that. And he only seemed to be interested in greens in the evening again. A couple days after that, February the 1st, Pumpkin's nose was just really runny still, and he was blowing his nose a lot, sneezing a lot. It wasn't really getting worse, but it wasn't getting better either. I still wanted to wait to take him to a vet because it wasn't anything like super serious yet, because that was like his only symptoms was just a runny nose and sneezing, and I thought with time it would eventually go away. The next day he was a lot better than the day before, and he was going to the bathroom more, eating a bit more. It seemed as though he was getting better, but like several days later, on February the 10th, I noticed that Pumpkin was sitting on his box as usual, not eating hay, and he was hunched up and eyes half closed and kind of grinding his teeth sometimes, which are signs that he's in pain. I did give him some gas relief that day, thinking it's probably gas that's hurting him or something. So to give you an idea of just how little he's eating, Penelope, I have to refill her hay feeder like every single day. Pumpkin's, I've only refilled it once since getting him. And Penelope has actually eaten out of his feeder a few times when she escaped over into his side. But even with that, it still had been a couple weeks before I had to actually add hay to his. He wasn't even like crazy about treat hay either. He just did not have much of an appetite, didn't feel like chewing very much. It seemed to bother his nose when he would eat because he would always like blow his nose a bunch when he's eating. It's probably one reason why he wouldn't feel like eating very much. But yeah, just not feeling well gave him a lack of appetite. So because he was acting like he was in pain, I thought about calling the vet that day, but I continued to just monitor him that day, waiting to see if he'll get any better. That evening when I gave him his evening vegetables, he was eating them, but then he stopped halfway through to try and go to the bathroom, but he seemed to have a really hard time going to the bathroom. He kept laying down on his abdomen and getting up again and he just kept doing that over and over again in his litter box and throughout the room, and he refused to continue eating his greens. So looking up those symptoms, I found it to be really serious because basically he was showing signs that he could possibly have an intestinal obstruction, and so I did call the vet after that. It was Friday night and I couldn't find any emergency vets nearby, and I figured the vet I called last time was closed and would be closed tomorrow on a Saturday, forgetting that they are actually open on Saturdays but only till noon, and they were actually still open that night but closing in like 5 minutes. So we called them because it was definitely too late to go to them that night. We set up an appointment for the next morning at 8:30 in the morning, and I was hoping that Pumpkin would make it through the night. When I left him to go to the house to make that call to the vet, he was in the doghouse laying down, still couldn't go to the bathroom. But when I came back from calling the vet, he was sitting down in a different part of the room. I still don't think he went to the bathroom anywhere. There was no evidence, but he wasn't laying down anymore on his abdomen, so that gave me hope for the night. I kept waking up through the night though to check on him. So we went to the vet to get him checked out, even though he was acting kind of normal, and I think he did poop a little bit that morning, so luckily it wasn't like an obvious severe case of blockage to where he couldn't go to the bathroom at all. And he still had his cold, so we wanted to at least get that checked out and taken care of, hopefully. When there, and after telling them his symptoms and stuff, they wanted to do an x-ray on him. I agreed to that, and I'm glad I did because they found that he did have some light gas bubbles in him and a buildup of stool. He's going to the bathroom right now. They massaged his belly. The doctor massaged his belly after that to try and pop those gas bubbles, I guess. And after that, they gave me some meds for him, or whatever they're called. Oh, he's eating hay. Such a rare sight. They gave me pain meds and antibiotics for his cold, and then something to get things moving in his system. So I've been having to give him 3 syringes every 24 hours, one of them every 12 hours. And after the first day of giving him those syringes, which by the way, he did not like the flavor of those medicines, so I did have trouble giving him his medicine with syringes, trying to handle him and stuff because I haven't really held him much, but I've always managed. And so yeah, I've been giving him those every day. But the day after giving him his first dose of those medications, he seemed to be so much better than he ever has been since getting him. His nose wasn't runny for once. He would still sneeze and stuff, and it still runs a little bit sometimes, but it's pretty much dry. He did go, I noticed the next morning that there was a lot of poo in his litter box, like way more than there ever has been before. So yeah, the medications have definitely been working. He's getting better and clearly has more of an appetite now. Pumpkin is finally, I can say, doing good. So yeah, he isn't 100% better yet. Still getting over his cold. It's been a worrisome few first weeks, but then also really fun and adorable. I did ask them if they do spay and neuter for rabbits at that vet, and they do. So when he's all better, I'll probably set up an appointment to get him neutered there. So yeah, they are doing really good now, and thank you so much, Robin, for these rabbits. They are just perfect. And I am really happy that they both ended up liking those baby toy cups I got for them. I put like dry herbs in between them for them to get, and it's just so adorable, them using them. But yeah, I think that's everything, so thank you for watching! Be sure to check out the previous videos if you haven't. That's it, I guess. Bye!